Now we would like to move to a different part of the world and different topic. We talked about Latin America and preparedness response. We talked about the Philippines and African swine fever, and now we're moving to Africa. And my pleasure to invite Moumita Das, who is a veterinarian and PhD candidate in our center. She's going to talk about her research and one of her research, I would say, specifically about insights into dog rabies in Turkana in Kenya, assessing veterinary professionals' perspectives on dog owners, knowledge, attitude, and practices, gap surveys. So, Mamita, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Valeria, for inviting me in this nice forum. So my name is Moumita Das, as Valeria mentioned. I'm just going to share my screen here. You can see my screen, right, Valeria? Okay. So I'm a PhD candidate that Valeria mentioned, and I work as a graduate research assistant at the Center for Animal Health and Food Safety. My PhD supervisor is Dr. Andres Perez, who is also the director of this center. So I am originally from Bangladesh, and I started my PhD in 2021 fall, and my PhD research started with, following the control and elimination of dog rabies in Kenya. And what I'm going to present today, this is one of my chapters thesis that you will see just a minute, please. Okay. So at the very beginning, I would like to discuss a little about that how these knowledge, attitude, and practices work in our scientific world. So at the first, that knowledge means to assess the level of the awareness and people's understanding and the misconceptions that how the people have a understanding of a specific health issues. And the attitude means that the perceptions about those people's feelings, opinions, and their emotional responses towards that health issues. And practices means beyond the knowledge and attitudes people have, how they react towards this issue and what kind of activities they show in their real life and what kind of decisions they take towards that health issue to mitigate that problem. So why those kind of studies, I mean, the knowledge, attitude, and practice studies are important and useful in our scientific community. That CAP studies, I mean, shortly called this CAP. So the CAP studies always expose the connection between an individual's knowledge, attitude, and practices. Those studies help to understand the process of driving behavior of the people and the social changes in a particular community. The studies helps to identify the gaps in between the knowledge, attitude, and their practice behaviors towards these specific health issues. And obviously, it evaluates the effectiveness of the public health campaigns and the interventions, like the vaccination campaigns in case of some diseases, as well as the rabies disease. It is an important factor. Then it obviously the future policy development and in the decision making tool, and finally it helps to optimize the resource allocation, like what amount of vaccines are needed in a particular community, what is the size of that population. Based on this population, what would be the size of the resources that this particular community need to eradicate or the control this disease. So what are the effects of the caps in the rabies control effort? So in my thesis, what I have found that if a particular community have a proper knowledge about the disease, I mean the rabies, it is very important to prompt that the reporting of the cases in timely, which is needed for the good surveillance. Rabies, you know that rabies is an endemic disease all around the world, and especially in the Asia and Africa. And one of the main reasons for that there is a misunderstanding, what it is called, that underestimation and underreporting of the bite cases immediately to the report center, which lacks a good surveillance in many places. Secondly, the people with the proper knowledge can have, good initiatives to participate in the interventions program. In case of the rabies, it is the vaccination campaigns, obviously. If the dog owners have a good knowledge about the disease, they will be willing to take their, the pet dogs to the vaccinations campaigns and get vaccinated to their dogs. And also the good knowledge about the disease regarding the risks of the disease. Initiate the dog owners to make their pet dogs remain their pet dogs to avoid contacts from the wildlife and some other unknown animals from where the rabies can be contracted. So in Kenya, rabies is endemic for more than 100 years, and it is one of the top 5 priority zoonotic diseases in the country. Every year, around 2,000 people are killed due to the dog bites, from where the 98% cases are reported from the domestic dogs. So the country has roughly an estimation of 5 to 6 million dogs, but they don't have a specific, the sustainable method of estimation. So this is just a rough figure that I have collected from a random publication. So in this study, we have selected the study location or our case location, that Turkana County, Kenya. As you can see here in the map, in the left side, the Turkana is one of the 47 counties, and it is the second largest counties of Kenya. And the Turkana is further divided into the 7 sub-counties, including the Turkana Central and others. You can see here. So the reason behind the selecting this county as our case location, because of its unique landscape and the strong veterinary services, especially the coordination of the community animal disease reporters, that we found that very unique in these regions, that this, the shortly called the CADRs, they are highly connected and very united with with one another, and these, the relationship and the connection enhance the reporting system prompt to the higher authorities. With that, the objective of our study was to support the rabies control efforts to the Turkana County Veterinary Services with the help of the Kenyan Women Veterinary Associations, to describe the knowledge, attitude, and practices of Turkana County community people regarding the dog rabies. So you can see here, just take a quick look at how the Turkana County's, veterinary administration works. That if you see here in the right corner picture, that they have one county director of the veterinary services, under whom 20 veterinarians work across the 7 sub-counties, and they also have the 26 para-veterinarians and a large number of the community animal disease reporters, that is the 650 till now. So for the data collection, we arranged a workshop in 2023 November, and this is the group and the workshop, the participants, along with the team, that including me here in the picture. You can see here that initially in that workshop, the 36 participants were invited, and finally we counted 33, because we dropped 3 participants because their professions and their experience and the background, professional background, did not match with our questionnaire or the objective of our study. So the final count was 33, and those 33 people, we considered them as the expert member in the field because of their knowledge about their community people and their strong tie with their community people, which made them ideal representative for answering all of our questions in the survey. So what are the study findings? That at the very beginning, I'd like to tell you the demographic information of the local domestic dogs that we assessed in two categories, that according to locations and according to different professions. So this is the first slide that according to locations, that you can see here in the chart, that we found that average percentage of the dogs under 1 year was around 40%, both in Turkana Central and the other sub-counties. That means there is a high turnover of the domestic dogs in that region. The average percentage of the owned dog is also the 40%. Then the average percentage of free roaming dogs at the day is around 60% in all the sub-counties in Turkana County. And this means there are high number of the free roaming dogs at the counties. Finally, if you see here, the average percentage of the sterilized dogs, although it is the lowest from the other three variables, but if you notice here that still it is almost double in the Turkana Central part than the other sub-counties. And we just raised these questions, then why? Why the sterilization rates are double in the Turkana Central comparatively than the other parts of the county? So the answer could be that all the resource allocations coming from the government supports are, still restricted to the central part of that county, not in the other parts. So we need to mobilize the resources to other parts of the counties, especially the other sub-counties where the marginalized and the pastoral peoples are living, and they need the support most, both in case of the animal and the public health issues. The second slide, the same variables here, but now it is in the different professions, that we have different kind of veterinary professionals in our workshop, and we categorize them as the government veterinarians, para-veterinarians, and others. Others include the private veterinarians and community animal disease reporters. So as you can see in the pictures or the birth chart, that the answers or the findings of every variables are very consistent. This indicates that if in future studies, if the researcher, it is not necessarily that it would be me, but any researcher, if they want to go to that location, the Turkana County, for collection of data for the research findings, then they can collect data from any of that professionals, which means that the answer would be the consistency if they collect data from either government vets, para-vets, private vets, and the CADs. So it is very consistent, and we can rely on their responses, what we have obtained from the field. And it is statistically insignificant. That proves also. Then the positive attitudes, again here, based on the location and the professions. And now the variables are that how they maintain the confinement of the domestic dogs, then how they sterilized those dogs, then how they provide food and shelter, and ultimately the veterinary care. So in these 4 parameters, in the Turkana, when considering the locations, then we found only one variable significant, that is the veterinary care, and it is under significance level 0.03. That means the veterinary care is provided significantly higher in the Turkana Central than the other sub-counties of the Turkana County. So we need to, whatever I mentioned before, that we need to mobilize the resources, we need to educate the people, we need to provide the service of the veterinary care to the people in the mostly the other parts of the counties than the central part, because central part already they have, but there is some limitations of the transportation cost and some other things included here that I don't have much time to describe everything today, but we need to mobilize the resources in the other parts also. So we also collected some information that is very important, I think, and many studies represent these informations too, that what are the barriers for dog vaccinations in Turkana, that why the dog owners are not willing to go to the vaccination campaigns, what are the barriers and what are the leading factors behind that? So we found that there are many factors behind this reason, and we divided in two major categories: the vaccine-related factors and the other factors. So if you see here in the pie chart in the left corner, the vaccine-related factors, that the most the highest percentage popped up that vaccine cost, the 66% told us that it is because of the vaccine cost that dog owners are not going to attend to the vaccination campaigns. Then the vaccine unavailability. The dog owners go to the vaccine centers, but still they are deprived of getting the vaccines in a proper way. Third one is the lack of the government vaccination campaigns. So in Kenya, government vaccination campaigns are free of cost, where they provide the rabies vaccinations for without any cost to the dog owners, but those are very limited. So when the dog owners need to go to a private clinics, they need to pay a higher a high expensive, if you consider that in dollars to the Kenyan shilling. So it is really very high price to pay for a single dose of the vaccines. In the other factors, you can see here the first and the highest percentage goes for the inadequate knowledge of the rabies. That is very obvious and leading factor around the world because of the behind the disease is endemic in state. The second one is the lack of information about the campaign. The people don't have informations and the much informations about the campaign before the day. That means there is a lack of publicity. The third factor we found that the negligence of the dog owners. There is no reason why the dog owners don't go to the intervention. Just they're not willing. They don't want to go to there. The third one is the distance to the veterinary clinic that I told you. The transportation cost is very high, and there is no proper, the transport way. There is no emergency ambulance for transporting animals. So there is a huge, the cost bearing the transportation and to bring the animals from one county to another county. So it is one of the leading factor. So what are the key takeaways from this study and these presentations? That this study is different from other knowledge, attitude, and practice studies. And why is this? Because this is not directly connected to the community people. We did not collect information directly from the field of the community people, but we collected this information from the expert member, including the different veterinary professionals, because they have a good experience, long-term experience and with their community people. So they can act as a good representative for answering our questions. Secondly, the poor knowledge attitude practices we found in Turkana, that the research findings that indicated that these rabies-related knowledge attitude and practices are not satisfactory across all sub-counties in Turkana County. And what I have mentioned before, the consistency in the data collected from the different professionals, which ensures the reliability of the sources of data. High turnover, that from my first graph that I mentioned, the Turkana County has a high population turnover, that around 40% of the domestic dogs are under 1 year, and which indicates that we need strict planning about the vaccination allocation and sterilization process across the whole counties. And it highlights also the importance of raising awareness and they educate people, the mass people, about the disease risk, about the disease itself, then its transmission cycle, reservoir, and obviously the post-exposure prophylaxis for the human. So this paper is currently under the review for the publication, and these are the list of my co-authors, that Maria Salperez, Dr. Javrana, Dr. Nakaria, Dr. Anders Perez, and Melinda Wilkins. And this project is funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And lastly, I'd like to acknowledge the Kenyan Women Veterinary Association, the Turkana County government, Directorate of Veterinary Services team, and I'd like to thank especially to the Dr. Marilyn Carney, Dr. Anima Silma, Dr. Benson Longer for their continuous support and during our data collection, our workshop days, and later the data validation process. So thank you for your patience. This is all about from me. So this is my email. If you want to know further informations or about our publications, that you can contact in my email. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Moumita. This is a very relevant topic to Ukraine as well. Unfortunately, we don't have time for questions. We're running a little bit late.
Sorry.
So I would ask you to put your email in the chat so people can reach out to you and ask questions directly. And thank you so much for joining us today.